The heartbeat of Broncos country skipped a beat when we heard about a sudden cleanup procedure on our young quarterback's ankle. We all remember that heartbreaking moment in the divisional round where everything seemed to slip away, and now the conflicting reports about his return timeline are creating a cloud of uncertainty over Mile High. As your eyes and ears inside the building, I know how much you care about this team's future. Before we dive into the truth, please subscribe to stay updated on our Denver Broncos. Bo Nix is at the center of a confusing medical situation that has every fan in Colorado checking their phones for updates. It all started when national reports suggested that a recent cleanup surgery might push his return back until the start of training camp in late July. This was a shock because we had been told for months that he would be ready for the voluntary off-season program in May and the June field work. Sean Payton has been the primary voice of calm during this storm, repeatedly stating that there is nothing to report and that everything is moving according to plan. The head coach even mentioned that the med check with the surgeon went perfectly, and that the young passer is already spending his days at the team facility. However, the mention of a cleanup procedure usually implies a setback or a lingering issue that wasn't fully resolved after the initial surgery following that playoff injury. We have to remember that this wasn't just any injury. It was the hit that took him out of the divisional round against Buffalo, effectively ending our season when a Super Bowl berth felt so close. The front office hasn't made any moves to bring in another veteran arm, which suggests they aren't panicked, but the fans certainly are. On top of that, Ian Rappaport reported a timeline that differs from the team's public optimistic stance. To counter the growing worry, the player himself took to social media to show a video of him sprinting on a field, trying to prove that his mobility is returning. This entire saga is happening as the team prepares to report for the first phase of the off-season program this Monday. Everyone is watching to see if he will be a participant or a spectator when the voluntary workouts begin. If the surgery was truly just a minor procedure, he should be throwing passes in June. But if the national reports are right, we might not see him in uniform until the summer heat hits. This creates a massive question mark for the most important position on our roster as we head into a pivotal season. The fans deserve to know the full truth about their leader's health before the first whistle blows in training camp. The tension surrounding this recovery is palpable because we all know what the stakes are for this franchise heading into the new year. When a quarterback who relies on his legs and his ability to extend plays deals with an ankle issue, every little detail matters. This third-year signal caller showed us so much promise last season, and seeing him go down in the playoffs was like watching a dream get snatched away. The cleanup procedure might be a routine part of the process, but in professional sports, routine can quickly turn into a concern if the healing doesn't follow the perfect script. Think about how much timing matters in this offense. The chemistry with the wide receivers is built during those quiet moments in May and June, where the routes are perfected and the rhythm is established. If the leader of the huddle is sidelined during that period, it puts the entire passing game behind the eight ball. We saw the sprinting video, which was a brilliant move to settle the nerves of the fans. But sprinting in a straight line on Instagram is very different from the lateral movements required to avoid a pass rush in a crowded pocket. The coaching staff is clearly trying to project a sense of normalcy, but they didn't sign a single quarterback in free agency or even through the draft process. That tells me they are either incredibly confident that their starter will be fine, or they are putting a lot of eggs in one basket. History has shown us that missing OTA reps can lead to a slow start in September, and in the tough AFC West, a slow start is a recipe for disaster. We need this young star to be the guy who took us to the divisional round, not someone who is constantly worried about how his ankle will react to a hit. The locker room looks to him for leadership, and his presence on the field, even in a limited capacity, changes the entire energy of the building. We are all holding our breath, hoping that the video we saw is the reality, and the reports of a delayed return are just noise. It is a time for patience and faith in the medical staff working right now. Success in the NFL is often determined by the health of a single player, and for our beloved team, that player is currently rehabbing. If this recovery goes exactly as the coach describes, it could mean the difference between a deep playoff run and another year of wondering what might have been. Think about the impact on the wins and losses. A healthy starter means we can compete with the heavy hitters in our division from week one. If he is hobbled or misses the crucial installation of the new playbook elements, the offense could look clunky and disjointed when the games actually count. We've seen this story before where a nagging injury lingers throughout a season, robbing an athlete of his natural explosion and confidence. We need him to be fully mobile because his ability to escape pressure is what makes him so dangerous for opposing defenses. If he has to stay in the pocket because he doesn't trust his ankle, he becomes a much easier target to defend. This isn't just about his career. It's about the veterans on this team who are hungry for a championship and don't have many years left to wait. The entire rhythm of the organization depends on this one joint in his leg. If it holds up, the sky is the limit for this group. But if there are more complications, it could lead to a downward spiral that affects the draft strategy and the long-term planning of the front office. Every day he spends in the trainer's room instead of on the grass is a day where the competition gets a head start. We want to see those deep balls and those scrambles for first downs that made us cheer so loud last winter. The consequences of this medical situation are massive, and they stretch far beyond just the first few weeks of training camp. We are talking about the momentum of an entire franchise that is desperate to return to the glory days of the past. The fans deserve a winner, and a healthy quarterback is the only way to get there. We are all praying that this procedure was truly just a minor bump in the road to greatness for the team and the community we all love dearly. The path forward for our team is currently split into two very different realities. In the best-case scenario, the cleanup procedure was exactly what it sounded like. A minor adjustment to ensure he is at 100% for the long haul. In this version of the story, we see him out on the field in June, throwing darts to his targets and showing no signs of a limp. This would give the entire city of Denver a massive boost of confidence and allow the team to build the necessary momentum to conquer the AFC. He would come into training camp with a chip on his shoulder, motivated by the missed opportunity in the playoffs, and lead us back to the promised land. However, we must also consider the darker side of the situation. What if the ankle doesn't respond well to the increased workload of training camp? If he has a setback in August, the team would be forced to start a backup who hasn't had the same level of preparation. This could lead to a string of losses early in the season that we simply cannot afford to have. The worst-case scenario involves him playing through pain, losing his accuracy, and eventually needing more significant surgery down the line. It is a razor-thin margin between a legendary comeback and a season-ending disappointment. The emotional weight of this is heavy for every fan who has worn the orange and blue for decades. We've endured the lean years, and we finally feel like we have the right pieces in place to win it all again. To see those hopes resting on a surgical procedure is nerve-wracking for everyone involved. The tension will only continue to grow until we see him take a snap in a real game environment. We are looking for signs of that same magic he showed us before the injury. Every practice report and every social media post will be analyzed for any hint of trouble. This is the reality of being a contender in this league. The stakes are high, the pressure is immense, and the health of our leader is everything. Let us hope the news remains positive as we approach the heat of the summer and the start of a very critical new season. The situation with our quarterback is the only thing that matters right now in Denver. We have the coach's optimistic words on one side and the reports of a delayed timeline on the other. Seeing the video of him sprinting certainly makes us feel better, but until he is under center in a live drill, the worry will remain. This team has worked too hard to let an injury derail our dreams for another year. We need that fire and leadership back on the field as soon as possible. As an insider who sees the work being put in behind the scenes, I want to believe the best is yet to come. But I want to hear from you, the heart of Broncos country. Be honest with me, do you believe the coaching staff is being fully transparent about this recovery, or are you worried that we might be heading for a slow start this fall? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe with notifications on. We will be here every step of the way as this story develops. Go Broncos! We stay united. Always believe in the orange and blue.